Welcome to this edition of Street Smart Lab Business Show. It's always good to have you around to watch, to learn, and to be impacted by things that we share that's certainly targeted towards helping your businesses. There is no limit to learning, and there is also no limit to how far you can apply the things you learn. The only limitations we can always have is when we don't have the right knowledge and we need solutions to issues around us. In businesses, you cannot totally predict the way things will be. And that's why at every point in time, we try to bring on board on this show professionals in different fields that will help us to touch on those critical areas that we need. In the previous edition, we've had people talk about financing for your businesses, human capital development, and other fields. So in today's one, we want to talk about your business and taxes. Your business and taxes. I'm sure some of us will like, tax. I try to run away from it too. No, I don't want to have issues with tax or what have you. Well, as the country appears to be getting broke and the economy situation is not getting fantastic, so also the government will be doing its best to look for more ways to get more revenue. And one of those ways is taxing businesses and individuals. So this is the right time for you to learn, to know what to do, to know how to go about it. So today we have on the show a professional, right? And that will help us to get this in the right perspective. So welcome with me, Mr. Tunji Abdulrazaq. Olatunji is the founder, Tax Mobile Online, and managing partner and CEO of AOA Professional Services. Welcome, Mr. Tunji Abdulrazaq.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So he's going to help us to do justice to this. I want you to just sit down, relax, and pay rapt attention. For us in this show, what we do is to look at, the germane ones that has to do with what businesses can thrive on easily, things that can help them to scale some of those hurdles that they have in mind. I know tax, I've had lots of calls and concerns about taxes, people when they reach out to give feedbacks. So let's start on this note. How would you describe the relationship of taxes and business enterprise? How would you describe that? The necessity of it, or not necessary, the compulsion part of it, or not? What's your view about taxes? You've been in the field for several years, and you are one of the known names out there about taxation. What's your view? What would you say about taxes and businesses?
Okay, thank you very much for having me. I'm going to be talking, from my experience over close to 20 years now. With respect to tax practice and helping businesses to do adequate tax planning and to manage their tax affairs. Tax and business, they are very, very, there are two things that you have to consider as an entrepreneur. If you want to be successful as an entrepreneur, you need to take your tax affairs seriously. And one of the things I used to tell, my clients or members of the public is that, tax affairs start from your contract, from the way you draft, from the way contracts have been, drafted. So you cannot eliminate tax when it comes to businesses because, you are earning an income. Either, from sales or from providing services or from manufacturing, you are earning income. And from those income, you're expected to pay taxes on it. If you meet the relevant requirements. So you cannot do away with that. These are statutory requirements when you run businesses. You have to pay your taxes as at when due. Also, you have employees, So, you also have the obligations to also pay, their taxes. You have to deduct their taxes because you're paying them salaries, and from those salaries, you need to deduct. So you cannot, write out the importance of taxation when running businesses. It's important. As you are making money, government also want to take their own fair share of your income.
People have this view that, I mean, what are those things I'm enjoying from government? Why should government be taxing me? I provide my electricity, I provide my water, I do my best to also make the road to my business more tolerable. Lots of those things that they feel that the responsibilities of government, and they want to come and be taking taxes from them. So why should I pay? I've had businesses like that.
Well, it's unfortunate. Your own responsibility is a civic duty on your own side to actually pay your taxes. Now, you also have a responsibility that you can only hold the government accountable for those taxes that you've paid. But the good thing about it is, you see, at least in the last few, let's say 7 years, in the past few of this administration, government have been trying to, drive Federal Inland Revenue Service, which is the tax administrators, to also increase, their revenue drive. And with that, so that's why I'll call it a symbiotic kind of relationship. Because if government make more money, I'm sure they will be able to, provide infrastructures that would also enable a lot of business to thrive. So what I'm saying here is that if you pay your taxes, we understand the level of corruption. We understand that maybe government are not doing enough. However, let's do our own part and then hold them accountable. In a lot of developed countries, when you pay your taxes, government provide facilities, infrastructure, to enable your business to thrive. So, it's a kind of symbiotic, relationship. When you pay your taxes and government is doing their own side, then I think, both can benefit from it. So we have to keep holding government accountable. You can't say because of the fact that you're not seeing anything for now, you're not seeing this, you're not seeing that you're not going to pay your taxes. It's a civic responsibility. And if you don't pay, you also be penalized for that.
Okay. So maybe we'll come to the issue of penalty and what it looks like, and the importance of why people should quickly get these things serious so that they can avoid some of those things, especially for those maybe up till now they seem not to, I've seen what penalty. Yeah, let the penalty now. It is somebody that they can get.
Well,
that they will have to hold on to. Okay, maybe you can talk about that.
Okay, well, you see, if you want your business to thrive and if you want to, be in business for the next 5 years, I think it's better you have a structure. A lot of people might think having a structure is quite expensive, but then if you really want to continue in business, you want to be a known brand, you have to do what is right. And what is right is one of those things is, meeting your statutory obligations. We have regulatory and tax issues that you must follow. One, for example, you are a registered business. Once you're registered with CAC, that's one, obligation. Now you have a tax identification number.
Yeah.
This is with Federal Inland Revenue Service. Probably you need to register with the, let's say, Lagos State. If your company is in Lagos, you need to register with them. That's another obligation. And, the truth about it is that, there seems to be, no hiding place for you avoiding taxes. Let me tell you why. Because there is a platform now, that CBN actually give FRS and all these tax or all these compliance regulatory organization access to have access to your bank statement. So if, for example, you believe that you're not going to do this, you want to hide, they can, they have access to your bank statement and they can tell you, oh, Mr. ABC Limited, you earned 10 million naira last year. Where is the evidence that you've paid taxes? I'm just giving that an example. So where do you want to write? Rather than you running up and down, why not do the right thing?
Okay. So if that's the case, because you touched on also, you open a business, automatically you get a thing that comes with the opening of the business now. Then maybe you're in Lagos and you also want to register with the Lagos. Why do we have to do that? Maybe you will now help us to give a good explanation to taxes generally, because Federal Inland Revenue Services, we understand, will demand for your company tax,
for your corporate taxes.
the corporate taxes. Now there is this income tax also,
Yes,
right? Personal income tax.
Yes.
Okay. So so where does the Lagos State government own comes in? The employees part, the whatever. Can you just give us an understanding of how taxes work generally?
Okay, let me give an example. I like to use practical examples. For example, we have ABC Nigeria Limited. ABC Nigeria Limited, incorporated, let's say last year. Now, you are to, file your returns. Apart from one of the obligations is to do a proper, audited financial statement, which will be certified by a professional that, okay, this is your accounting, statement, your financial statement. Once you do that, you're supposed to, compute your taxes and then probably remit whatever is due to FRS. That's on one side. Now, in the process of running your business, you would have employed 1 or 2 or 3 staff in the process of running the business. One, is possible that maybe you have 5 staff. Let me use an example. And probably your office is in Lagos. Let's use that as an example as well. And maybe you have some people coming from Mowe. If they are coming from Mowe, it means they are residents in Ogun State. Now, what it means as ABC Limited, you have 5 employees, 3 are in Lagos, 2 are staying around Mowe or Ibafo, which is Ogun State. So it means you have to register with 2 states' internal revenue service. Why? Because some are residents in Ogun State, while 3 are in Lagos. So you need to register with them, with Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, because as an employer, you have the obligations to deduct on a monthly basis, the taxes of your employees on a monthly basis.
As a personal income tax.
Yes, for the employees. And you as the owner, you can be one, if you don't want to place yourself on salary, you can, as well, fall on the direct assessment thing, which comes up once every year, which is due on or before, the following year. That's by 31st of the following year of that assessment year period.
Okay, so it means the states, you pay personal income tax to the states.
Yes, the state are the one that administers personal income tax.
Then the FIRS.
Yes, for the corporate tax and VAT.
And VAT.
Yes.
Okay, so are all businesses taxable? Do all companies, all business enterprise fall under the tax regime?
Well, when you say, that's a very, I'll put it, let me break it down. More or less, that's like a vague question. Why? Because when you say, are they taxable, it depends on what area you are looking at. Now, the Finance Act, government have been doing a lot, to review, taxes on a yearly basis. This started during this current administration. I think it started with the Finance Act 2019. We now have the Finance Act 2020 and 2021. The purpose of the Finance Act is to review, some of these obsolete tax law with the current. Now, one of the benefits that most of these companies have for small and medium enterprise, which is the focus here, for the small enterprises, if you don't earn up to 25 million, you are not liable to any corporate tax. But from 25 million and above, then you can start looking
annually.
Yes, annually.
So not monthly.
Not monthly. 25 million annually. So if you don't make up to that in terms of turnover, then you don't need to, file any corporate taxes. That's one. Then another thing that the government is also looking at to also support, SMEs is that if you fall within the medium, that means between, let's say, 25 to 100 in terms of turnover, then we are looking at 20%. The standard corporate income tax for large companies is 30%. So if your turnover is between 25 million to 100 million, then, it will be subject to 20%. So you can see that government is also doing a lot of things. So people should not look at it that, they're just paying taxes, they're not saying anything. At least government is also, have started to look into such areas to support business in some areas. So if you are a new entrepreneur and you don't have up to 25 million, that means you can just file a new returns. That means you will not be subject to any corporate tax.
So, but Okay.
So you understand where I'm coming from in terms of whether, why,
Yes.
is it applicable to all businesses now?
Okay, well, so in the case of agriculture, for
Yes.
example,
Okay, for
so
agriculture, there
yes.
are some industry specific,
Okay.
kind of incentive,
Oh, okay.
and there are some, like we call it tax holiday.
Okay.
Or in some industries, we have agricultural industry where I think you have about some period of tax holiday. Not quite sure of how many years that is. However, you also have, even in the tourism sector,
Okay.
where you enjoy like about 25% of your income so far. These are foreign earnings. We also have in the exports zone, like all these Lekki free trade zone and all that. People enjoy some certain incentive. Then there's some specific industry where, if you like a pioneer, it's like a pioneer status. For example, those investing newly into the mining. Mining is something that is just coming up, and probably government is trying to to encourage more people to go into such sector by giving them pioneer status, to say, okay, for pioneer status, once you submit an application, you can get 3 years tax holiday without paying any taxes, which is also renewable for another 2 years. So that's an accumulated 5 years.
Okay. So in all of this now,
Yes.
I now feel okay because I'm told, or I know that it's a requirement, my obligation, okay, that it's my duty, civic responsibility to pay taxes.
Yes.
What's the benefit? Apart from the fact that it's just my civic, what's the benefit in paying taxes? Does it mean that for some businesses you can enjoy some things? For example, I've heard of maybe when people pay, it helps them to avoid paying some taxes if you have your CSR done, and you can show that you've spent social amount on CSR or something.
Yes, I think one of the companies that have enjoyed that is Dangote. I don't know if you are aware of that big road construction. Yeah, there are incentives with respect to that in terms of infrastructure. Maybe when a particular company spend some certain amount of money, all these things you need to apply for it, so that at the end of the day, government can also look at it and then see what you've done and then review what you've done in terms of that. So when you come about, building infrastructure, if any particular company, but Dangote is a very, very, is an example, of that kind of example that you are looking at. And when you talk about benefits, a lot of people keep saying that they pay taxes and they've not been seeing anything. Well, Rome was not built in a day. And I'm sure, people will see that at least this particular administration has focused more on infrastructure, building of roads and the like. I don't really want to talk about, any particular administration, but the truth about it is that with the dwindling oil revenue, tax has come to stay. And the only way for government to fund the expenditure, is through taxes. So whether we like it or not, taxes has come to stay in Nigeria. So the best thing is to be proactive rather than reactive. When I mean proactive, you need to plan your tax affairs right from the beginning. There are 3 people that I used to say that when you are starting a business, you need to hold them closely. That's your lawyer, your tax consultant, and probably an accountant.
Okay, so that's just because so that people will not burden themselves with the rigor of having to figure it out. That how do I sort out legal things?
It's not even just about the rigorous element. For example, if you start a business, ABC Limited started, let's say 2020, or let's say 2015. Now he has not been doing the right thing, has not registered for taxes, and not. FRS might not even visit him in the next 5 years. They can just send him a letter, maybe 5 years or 6 years, down the line, to say, okay, please, we are coming for so audit. And by the time they come for that audit, you can imagine the accumulated penalty and interest. Of course, that can crash a company, especially a company, that doesn't really have that much, that is not liquid or doesn't have that cash flow. A lot of these companies, by the time they finish the tax audits, maybe having, tax liabilities worth 20 million, 25 million. You would have put that more even into the business. So it's better you are proactive plan ahead rather than reactive. When they come, you now start, running or start looking for shortcuts and all that. And the truth about it is that, for you to have that, for you to be confident that you're doing the right thing, you need to start and be more proactive about it.
If you have to now be proactive and plan ahead,
yes,
can you give us a rundown of the tax cycle for a business in a year so that viewers can understand when they need to start planning, when they need to start getting things run, what month in the year that they should ensure that they will have gotten things ready and beats a deadline that possibly will be there. Is this file, are there parts of these filings that has to do with monthly, weekly, annually, maybe VAT or something? Can you just help give a rundown of?
For example, ABC Limited registered, recently, and one of the things that ABC needs to know is that CIT, from the date of incorporation is due 18 months, but subsequently it will be, it runs over 12 financial year, and you have to file 6 months after your financial year. For example, so if your financial year is 31st December, you need to file your corporate taxes on or before 30th of June. So that's 6 months after your financial year end.
Okay.
So to make it easier, 6 months. So if your financial year end is also June, that means you have to file by 31st December. So just take it from 6 months after your financial year end. That's one. Now, with respect to VAT, once you have any VATable, supply, because there are some companies that are actually exempted from VAT, or there's some, no, not companies, rather, there are some services and products that are exempted from, VAT. Yeah. So on a monthly basis, even if you're exempted, you still need to file a nil return.
Okay.
Because if you don't file such nil return, you'll also be exposed to penalty and interest. So that's one. Then for personal income taxes, once you have an employee, you need to register, with Lagos State if the employee is in Lagos, if it is in Ogun State, if the employee is, just like the earlier example of Mowe and Lagos, you need to register with such state internal revenue services and remit their taxes as and when due. Now, for VAT, it is on the 21st following the month of transaction. So if you do any transaction in June, you have to remit your VAT returns of all those transactions you did in June on or before 21st of July. For employee taxes, you have to remit, on this, following month, which is on or before 10th of the subsequent month. If it falls on the weekend, then you have to do it before.
Okay. So, are all companies entitled to any form of breaks or holidays?
Well,
you mentioned earlier on.
Yes, I've mentioned before, like government have looked at it that, okay, if for example you earn less than 25 million, that's to some extent some break.
Okay, but apart from that generic one,
apart from the generic one, like I said, there are some specific industry. We mentioned some industry, like I mentioned the mining industry, where they enjoy. You can apply, but you have to apply for that pioneer status.
Okay, so it's not just that because I know I have or I fall within this industry and I don't apply, it will not just automatically apply.
Of course, you have to apply. You have to apply because anybody can say anything. You have to apply and then make sure you meet the minimum requirements. And then that will be granted. And once it's granted to you, the first 3 years, and you can get an extension for another 2 years, making a total of 5 years.
Are there incentives, kind of, to you doing prompt payment of your taxes?
Yes.
Because if there are penalties, should there not be incentives? That's the reason why.
Well, I think sometime at a point in time, I'm trying to remember that incentive that was granted, but I can't really. But yes, at a particular point in time, FRS might come up with different incentive, to say if this is paid between so and, but it's not automatic thereof. You can see, I don't know if you have gone through the news at one point in time where, was it MTN or so was awarded best corporate citizen of the year or something like that. So some at least they were recognized.
That's by FRS.
Yes, by FRS.
So are there things that companies can do to help them reduce the tax burden or the amounts they would pay that would not come so heavy on their businesses? Or is it that there are just these sets of rules that once they just hold on to your account, they can just tell you this is how much you must pay? I remember then I used to hear of businesses who can, for example, split their income, and they will they can say this particular one, they reduce maybe the amount that is allotted to transportation, allotted to wages and all that, so that when the tax people come, you can tell them that this is the only area where you can tax. So is it that in all those elements there are key things that they look out for to tax, or there's a way they just apply a percentage to your
course,
income?
all your expenses, would be, there are some deductible expenses, before your taxable income is now taxed. It's not that if you have sales of 1 million, you just put, taxes on it. They have to also consider your expenses, and those your expenses must also meet some certain condition. It must be used for the purpose of the business. It's not that you'll be doing some certain personal things and then you'll be putting it there as expenses that you incur. It must be in the course of the business. It must be exclusively for the business. And the truth about it is that what you are actually looking at in terms of reducing, there's no shortcut to it. We call it tax planning. Tax expert, we call it tax planning. And like I said, taxes starts from your contract. I can tell you for free that, the way you also word your contract also determines the kind of taxes you pay.
When you say contract,
yes,
what do you mean by
exactly,
contract?
you have an agreement with somebody now, and probably as a limited liability company, you put technical services. Okay. That technical services, if you do any transaction with anybody, they're going to deduct withholding tax. They will deduct 10%. But if you're able to word it in such a way that you put a contract of service, that attracts 5% withholding tax. So that's why I said, taxes starts from contracts. And that's why I tell a lot of my clients to say, look, once you have any agreement, send it for our own review before you append your signature, so that we can also tell you the tax implication of such.
So, in fact, with what you just said now, I think it will just be very good we touch on this aspect of the importance of people getting their tax planning right.
Yes.
You mentioned earlier, you advise people that there are 3 people they will have to hold very firmly when they want to start their business. Exactly. The lawyer, the tax consultant, and the accountant, right?
Yes. And before you also go for the if you notice, a lot of small and medium, enterprise, some of them they don't even have accounting records. It's as bad as that. People just remove money from the business. They don't no records, nothing. Okay, you are saying you fuel your car, or maybe there's an official car, which is to the company. You bought fuel, you didn't keep receipts. Now, if FRS come and say, okay, Oga, how did you spend this money? And you don't have receipt to substantiate it, whereas that money was transferred to your account. Assuming it was transferred to the filling station directly, once they see the name, maybe Total Filling Station, they can at least, say, oh, this was actually meant for fuel. But if it was maybe probably you have a petty cash and you cannot substantiate what is. So the truth about your tax is about 2 things: the law and documentation. A lot of people don't. I have a lot of issues when it comes to SMEs. Their problem is documentation. It's a big problem. Some people just believe money goes in when they say 10 million, they think they are doing well. But by the time they do that proper accounting, a lot of people are in big debt.
Okay, so what would be your advice to small and medium businesses? Let's assume the big ones already know, by implication of the volume of what they do. Of course, you should just know that they will be coming for you heavily. You can't even hide. The small ones are the ones that you might not be visible initially, but of course, there's no perpetual invisibility.
Exactly.
Somehow you will be found out, one day, or especially if you have to go online and you have business now on Instagram, so many platforms where people are out there talking about their business. So what would be your advice in terms of how they should go about getting themselves well prepared to do the right thing, and how they can be able to put together the taxes that they need to pay? And they won't have to get burdens of exorbitant amount being charged and penalties. Yes.
Okay, like I said, I like practical examples. I like to share my experience so that people can get it closely. I don't like theory. Now, from experience with one of my clients, it happens to be an SMEs, and the total inflow into his bank statements was about, let's say, 45 million. Now, no proper accounting records, no proper documentation. He was just running business and money was just flowing into his account. Eventually, FRS, sent him a letter to say, look, Oga, you have a total of 45 million in a particular period. You did not file, your taxes. This and this is due. Now, unfortunately, or let me say fortunately, when I got, when he called me, and he said, wow, I learned you are an expert in tax, come and assist me. So I haven't looked through his document. I discovered that out of the 45 million, 30 million was actually a loan. So from the FRS point of view, because he doesn't have proper documentation and even accounting, they can't differentiate between what is a loan. Because what they are looking at, they're just looking at your credit side. This money came in. And
irrespective of where it comes in from, because when you say it's a loan, was it that they came in from individuals, came in from so many sources?
Whether from individuals.
No, because if it came in from a bank, you could have easily said, okay, maybe this is a loan, if you saw that inflow of that amount.
Well, even if you see the inflow of that amount, FRS by not, because of the software they are using, they just pick out some certain amount of money, from the back end. They might not say that description.
Okay.
Sometimes, even if you look at your bank, sometimes those descriptions are not well, well stated. So it is not left for you. If the client had, put in place proper documentation and accounting records, then that wouldn't have happened. So what I'm saying in essence, in summary, I haven't used that example, is that you need to keep proper documentation of all the things you are doing. So far it is for the business. If you are paying anybody, some people even use their corporate account to run private. See, FRS, if you are somebody that collects a job on behalf of some certain group and they are paying it into your corporate account, you pay taxes for it too. Except if you can defend that it's actually for a job. Are you going to ask your friends to start bringing their own personal bank? Nobody's going to answer you. For you to justify that is actually a thrift contribution. So I always advise people, what is for business, separate it from what is personal. Some people, there was a client who was the eldest of their late father, and probably they were planning for the burial. The siblings and other families started throwing money into his corporate account. It becomes very difficult, and these are the things that we face when we try to explain to Federal Inland Revenue Service or any of these tax authorities to say, look, this is not part of, this is an income for this and not, but they will tell you, for them to put it out, they bring evidence. So in summary, what I'm saying is that have proper documentation, keep proper records, keep proper supported documents, so that at the end of the day, and then ensure you do proper bookkeeping.
Okay, that's interesting. So on a final note, what would be your advice to businesses out there who might just be wondering, okay, what should I do? Where do I start from? Yeah, I should keep accounting. I know one of the things we're also working on is bringing knowledge about how people can keep those basic accounting things, bookkeeping. I mean, those key things. People want funds to help their businesses. They don't have good accounting system. They don't even keep their books.
Exactly.
Nothing. People have issues with paying taxes. They don't have, bookkeeping. They no records to help them. So if they must, some of the things businesses desire, they are all dependent on how well you have planned and prepared your business all the while. So what would be your advice to businesses out there? They don't know. They don't. They may just look helpless, but they want to get these things up. But what would you say to them?
Okay, well, I understand that sometimes when you are starting business, you might have some financial, challenges, probably in terms of getting a quality consultant or, getting somebody to put you through. But the good thing about it is that even if you don't have such financial means, you can also reach out to people who have been in that industry, for some time, just to share their own experience. So it's better you share people's experience, learn from people within your same industry, look at how they've been doing businesses or whether you even get a coach or a mentor, who have been in that business to assist you. That if you are still having some financial challenges, that's one. Then secondly, even on these financial challenges, there are a lot of funds going on everywhere. Why do you think SMEs in Nigeria cannot access it? It's because they don't have documentation. Even apart from you approaching the banks, there are some investors, there are some angel investors that want to put money into your business, but they don't even know whether you are doing well.
Yeah.
So everybody keeps saying that there's no money, they can't get, and I keep telling them, okay, are you doing the right thing? So, like I said, even if you don't have the money now and to be honest, there are some consultants that actually have a package for SMEs. Somebody like me, I do that because I like to grow with businesses. So if you're a startup or something like that, of course, there are some packages for SMEs and say, okay, over time, by the time you keep growing, then we can also grow with you. Because by the time those heavy penalties and all that exposure comes, then you might be struggling to survive.
Okay, so our viewers, you've heard it well from Mr. Tunji Abdulrazaq. I don't know if there are other ways you are desiring that we can try to pass this information across to you. We will gladly do. So our goal is that as you are getting immersed and entrenched in your business and you're striving to ensure that it grows to the corporation you desire, you get it right. It's a journey, and every step of that journey is important for you to do the right thing. You don't have to struggle with things all around by yourself. There are people who can be of help. You could, even by mere going online, you see a lot of support there. But you might not also be able to make the right choice. Why not just reach out and get the support? We've always maintained that we have the network of professionals who can provide services for you in all of these areas. You might be wondering what it might cost you or what are those challenges. Why don't you even just attempt first? I have had people who have, it's as though they barely even paid anything to get some of these services being helped them. But the first thing is, what do you know, and are you ready to be supported, to be assisted, to get things right with you? If you try to reach out and you don't know, you've not gotten somebody out there, reach out to us, send the mail to us at support@streetsmartlab.com, and we would connect you with those people. For example, Mr. Abdulrazaq has been doing a lot of things in taxation, and I know either you're an SME or you're a medium business and you need that necessary support. There's no way you will not get the needed support if you are being introduced to those who have been, in this system and have been doing well. They have the experience, they have the knowledge. So if you would have any issue tomorrow, it won't be that you didn't know. It will be that you knew, you got to know, you were told, you learned from some of these things, but you refused to take action. Take action today. Reach out to those who can be of help to your businesses. Don't wait till when it's going to be very late and when it's going to be very challenging and you begin to run up and down to see if you can salvage the situation. Let me give an example before we end this session. I was in a discussion one day, and this accountant was sharing with me that he used to know a business. They've been operating for some years, but they never took their tax whatever so serious. So they got to a point where they needed to now move on to achieve something. But suddenly, they need to now go back to their tax books and do something. Unfortunately, as at that time, nothing was well done. The guy advised him that I would see, if you want to avoid this burden, this huge amount, it's better you want to go and open another company and file that this one is gone. I mean, where do you start from? You have built a business name, a brand, and all that over the years, and you want to start all over. And where do you even go and get? You are looking for money to help the business, and you are being advised that if you must go ahead, you have this burden, this much to go ahead. So, lots of ways you can go about this. He mentioned one very simple thing, as simple as how your contract is worded. How it is worded, it will help you to even go a long way to determine how much tax, the percentage you will be paying. What more would you need to learn, to know? So your knowledge is important to help your business, and seek that knowledge. Reach out and get the needed support. Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you
for coming around.
Thank you so much.
And we'll be calling the day here. Thank you for watching. It's been a nice time having you around. Till we'll come your way next time. And that next time, surely we will be discussing a lot of things even around your accounting. He's talked about it. People don't have good bookkeeping. They don't even keep their books. People, money just comes and they spend. They just come and they say, do you give us time? It's in my bank statement. But your bank statement cannot sort itself out. Your bank statement is there for analysis to be done to put things in the right place. So we're bringing your way things on accounting, how you can get those things well sorted out, and gradually be building what will help your business to get the right support, even up until when you need financial support. So to come your way next time, I remain yours sincerely, Adeyiga Awomuti, and I'm committed to what's the smartest you and the best of your company. Thank you.